Welcome back to the Football Exponential Show. I'm Chick and I'm joined by Fran.
Hi, Chika. Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the show.
Yeah, it's one of my most exciting days today with the Austin Bomber Chelsea signing Joao Pedro. I wasn't expecting it and it delayed our coming on air. So let's go with the first one. Let's go with the first one first. Thomas Partey, it's been announced that he's expected to leave Arsenal. I think he's
Yeah,
32 years old, right?
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. If you're watching us and you like what we are doing, please hit the smash the like button, subscribe, drop your comments if you want us to cover any particular player, any particular club, or any particular topic. Let's go. Do you think Arsenal will regret letting him leave, or you think it's logical, or you think it's economic decision? What do you think about his departure? Because he had one
Well,
of his best seasons last season.
yeah, I think in terms of his best season last year, I think I will disagree with you on that. But I think, first of all, I think it's in my opinion, I think it's the right decision to let this to end it right now with this player particularly. And I think in terms of if Arsenal will regret letting him go next, it depends on how Arsenal conducts their business this summer. If you adequately replace him with good quality, that's what I think Arsenal should be okay. But again, with Partey, it's personally, I was a bit surprised that Arsenal were even interested in renewing his contract because you know his age profile, you know his the financial packages on at Arsenal. All these variables come into consideration when you're trying to negotiate with a player like this. And with where Arsenal are right now, I don't think Thomas Partey can be part of this squad going forward. If, because again, if we know what Arsenal's objective are right now. It's not a team that is a team that needs to arrive, not the team that's trying to get there. They've already been there. They're trying to just get over the finishing line. And I think, like you said, you said he's had one of his best seasons. I think I just because most times when I've watched him play for Arsenal, he's been very he has a lot. He brings a lot to Arsenal in terms of that build-up play, but I think he's also quite inconsistent. And in big moments and in big games, when you need his experience or quote unquote experience, he's lets Arsenal down. I think games like the draw against Aston Villa last season, the game second leg against Real Madrid, where he just he gets booked with another yellow card and misses. Then he misses the semi-final first leg. Then he plays in the second leg, then makes a mistake for one of the goals that they concede. So I don't think it's really had. I don't think it's been particularly impressive. I think his overall Arsenal career has been very. I think it's very underwhelming, and also I'll put him in the same category as
Underwhelming?
Lacazette.
Underwhelming?
Yeah, I think his entire Arsenal career has been
Stats
underwhelming.
wise,
Because
or
again,
the way you watch him, why?
no, I think everything starts in terms of his stats wise, his appearances, how he's contributed to his appearances on the pitch. Because if Thomas Partey is really because if you look at it, I think he's missed a lot of games at Arsenal in the last 4 years.
Yeah,
He's missed a lot. He's
yeah,
missed a lot
but
of
you
games.
know, I'm sorry to
No, no, go.
because you said underwhelming. This is why I feel it's not underwhelming. I've never been a Thomas Partey fan, but last season I watched him every week, week in, week out, and I was convinced, I was won over, and I became a staunch supporter or whatever or fan. Now, when you say he was underwhelming, one of the reasons that I think you might be over reacting is that most of the time he played with Declan Rice. And if you remember, Declan Rice had his best season in Arsenal. That's 2 years now, but he had his best season this season. To me, Thomas Partey has been a better player where the two of them have played together for Arsenal.
And again,
I'm talking of if you watch him, this is why maybe I'm exaggerating, but this is why I'm a big Thomas Partey fan, right? The reason why I'm a big Thomas Partey fan is it's difficult to see a number six or a central midfielder or someone who plays deep be able to control the ball and hold the ball without losing it like he does. When it comes to progressing the ball, he might not be able to give the key passes, but when it comes to holding the ball and moving and progressing the ball and moving from one area to the another, and that is what to me, that is why Declan Rice has been or is so special last season because Declan Rice had one of his best seasons last season because he demonstrated that box to box or whatever you call it, moving the ball from defense to attack. Now, if you look at Partey, if Partey is with the ball, I'm so confident that is not losing the ball. If you check how many times he's been dispossessed, that's not what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
So that is
yeah,
why I
it's
look at him as being solid. That is the only reason why. And if you want to compete, because Norgaard is 31, Thomas Partey is maybe 32 or 33. Now you look at the stats. I've not checked the stats. I've checked Norgaard stats before coming here. I've not checked Thomas Partey's stats. If you look at the two of them, if you watch them, I think Norgaard is not an upgrade on Thomas Partey. I'm not saying who is better for
yeah.
Arsenal.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'll let
So
you.
I think in terms of the replacement or the incoming Christian Noga, I think it's important to separate the two players. So you can talk about Thomas Partey in isolation
Yeah,
and what he's
let's
done
talk
for
about him in
Arsenal.
a solution. I'm sorry I brought him Norgaard. Just let's talk about him.
Because again, because again, this is he was signed for over 50 million pounds, I think about 5 years ago. He was on big money when he came to Arsenal. And that same period, those are the same in that same period, that's when guys like I think Jorginho was moving to Chelsea that same, I think a year or two before that. Yeah, Rodri as well. They left, came to Man City that same time period as well. If you look at the contributions, even like a Jorginho, Partey does not stack up to what Jorginho has done in the Premier League. He's never had that. He's never been a combative midfielder in Arsenal's team. He's not been a fixture in that level. He's been in and out. So there's been a lot of
Yeah, injury.
inconsistencies around him. Again, like new injuries, form. It's not been like what I mean. Like it's not been a staple in that team. Like guys, you can okay, you know what this is. If you close your eyes, you imagine Arsenal's midfield. It's Thomas Partey and whoever in front of him. That's what Declan Rice is now. The impact Arsenal expected from Thomas Partey is what Declan Rice has done. Obviously, for more, he signed for over 100 million pounds. But again, I don't think the price matters if the player is delivering. I don't think if you look at it with a bit of hindsight, in the last look at his Arsenal career, I think you look at it like you know what he could have done better. Because again, at this period, this is when Arsenal were finishing. Arsenal were quite poor in the league. Arsenal were finishing eighth, fifth. Then also they start to challenge for Premier League titles. And I think the season before, I think the 2024 season, he had only 9 Premier League starts. Then he moves to he comes into this season just finished. He makes his high, in fact, the most starts he's had in the league in the last 8 years, even all the way back to his time at Atletico Madrid. 31 starts. If you notice when players are going into a contract year, this is where you see they start to show you things
William,
they've not showed
I
you.
did that.
Yeah, yeah,
I
they start
remember.
showing you things
Obama
they
Yang
start
did
showing you
that.
things they've
Ozil did that. Yeah. That
exactly.
contract, they did
Exactly.
that bad.
So they started showing you things they've not shown you. They start showing you. You see, I think even him. I think a lot of Arsenal fans were like, okay, physically he looks a lot leaner these days. And again, like, okay, it means putting a lot of work to help himself get on the pitch more often than not. But I just feel Arsenal. I don't think right now you need this guy. Again, it's in an ideal world you can just renew him for like on a cheaper wage package. You have him in the squad. You don't need to go out and find any replacement or um any quick plug and play. Like, you know, those like again, Norgaard, that guy can come in and do the job quickly. But I don't think in terms of quality, I don't think with what Man City are trying to do with their recruitment this season, what Liverpool are already doing, and even if you compare with a team like Chelsea, for example, what's the option Chelsea have in midfield, the Newcastles, the Aston Villas, I don't think Thomas Partey moves the needle for Arsenal in end of that regard. So I think I think it's a smart choice. And as Moreno always says, it's always see where they play, see how they play, and if they play. So it'll be interesting to see which team picks him up on the free transfer.
Okay. Quickly, let's go back to the next one. Let's go to Norgaard. Christian Norgaard is reported to have agreed or have signed already. I don't know which is the latest for Arsenal for 11 million euros. So, and this is, I think he's the assistant captain of Brentford, because I think the captain still remains the Jamaican Pinnock, right? See, Pinnock is the
Yeah,
captain. Yeah, but Pinnock hasn't been starting for some games now. So Christian Norgaard captains them. Look at some of the things that he brings to the table as regards Norgaard. He brings leadership, stamina, work rate, vision, and positioning. And I was surprised. I didn't know that last season he had a very good season last season. He had recorded 5 goals and 4 assists. And that has been his best. I didn't know that he recorded, because if you are looking at from the position where he plays, He plays.
He's a very like in terms of his sorry to call sorry to chip in. I think in terms of his goals, he's a very it's called he gets involved in set pieces. So I think if you look at his goals, I think a large number of them are from set piece
Yeah, they say
situations. I think
nine
he's a,
nine out of his 11 Premier League goals have come from set piece. Yeah, you did the research.
and if you again you know what Arsenal are about with what Arsenal do with set pieces, I think that's another weapon because it's in that same Moreno caliber where he's that is tall, strong midfielder that can impact the game from set pieces. It's like a you're saying because he has I think in that Brentford team is one of the few guys in midfield over the last few years they've been in the Premier League that has real ball playing capacity because most guys, the other guys they have in midfield are more work, the hard working type of midfielder, the destroyers, the ball winners. But Norgaard is a very cute midfielder. He knows how to find the pass. He's very patient on the ball. And I think his progressive passes. I think you obviously have the statistics, so just let us know about his
Yeah,
passing capacity.
I have his progressive. First of all, how do they say it? Availability is something.
Availability is the best ability.
Availability is the best ability. Yeah, he's one of only 10 central midfielders with over 10,000 minutes since 2021. One of only
That's
Christian Norgaard is one of only 10 central midfielders in the Premier League with over 10,000 minutes since 2021. Why did they use 2021? Because 2021 was the year Brentford were promoted to the Premier League. So if you start counting from the first day he steps into the Premier League, he's one of only 10. That tells you that he plays almost every game. That's number one. Then number two, in terms of he has very rich or good magnificent interceptions. He recorded 1.56 interceptions every game per 90. I always like to look at per 90. I don't like to look at total because
yeah,
someone might have played more games. I always go with per 90. 1.56 interceptions and averaging 2.07 average long balls, which is very, very impressive, right?
yeah.
Now, his recoveries is out of this world. It's 6.14 recoveries. He normally most players have more interceptions than recoveries, right? He has six, so he has way double of more than double, more than five times of what he intercepts. And then in terms of tackle, 62% tackle success or tackle or winning of those tackles. Now, I looked at something that shows me the pressing. In terms of how he presses, his average in terms of pressing, I expected better from him. He had 0.45 possession. He won 0.45 possession in the final third. Okay, final third is deep, so it's
Yeah,
going to be
I
difficult
know.
for him to be in the final
And
third.
also, I think also you also have to see where the kind of team he plays for. Because Brentford are very flexible team, so they're not a very dogmatic pressing team. They press when they have to, and they defend deep when they have to. So it's a very, I think that's started. But again, if you look at his area duels one, it's quite impressive.
Yeah, I
His
didn't
tackles
like
one
that.
per his tackles one per 90 minutes. All
Yeah.
those defensive stats that you look for a defensive
But the
midfielder,
problem
somebody
is with him
defense.
is that you don't really notice him. I've been watching him all these years for Brentford. I've not, it doesn't really catch your eye because he does the simple things very.
But it does. No. It does. I think if you look at because again, you know, I'm a very big, very big guy, big fan of Thomas Frank. Not anymore since because he's a Tottenham manager now. But I think if you look at how Brentford set up or how they've been set up in the last few years, you see they have the physical attacking players, the guys that have the pace, the whistles in Bremer when Everton was there, and the guys like Jan. I think there's Janlet, there's
Yeah,
another
there's
one, but I
there's
think
damn.
yeah, sounds like. And I think most times whenever they try to, especially when they play the big teams, when they because now they play in the back five, the trade midfield and two up front against the big teams. And whenever they try to build up, is always that's where you see him. That's where you see how involved he gets because he's the guy that drops a bit deeper, just in front of one of the centre backs. He gets the ball, he finds those passes. I think he has a very good range of passing. So I think in individual, I think Norgaard, I think he's a good Premier League midfielder enough Premier League experience, he knows Premier League enough Premier League know-how, and he will bring quality to any Premier League team right now. But and this is a big but I don't like this transfer for us now
Why?
because look at it this way: is one team being a good Premier League player, as one team being a good Premier League player for a team like Arsenal. And I'll use an example with Chelsea, like a guy like Kieran Hall. that Chelsea signed last summer from Leicester City.
Yeah.
He comes in, is by all accounts a good Premier League player. But when he goes to Chelsea, you can see like, okay, this is not quite
The
a
level
Chelsea
that
player.
Chelsea. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I think with Chelsea it's a bit okay because you have other guys, you have the Caicedos, Enzos, Lavia that all play ahead of him, so he doesn't get enough minutes. I think what about majority of his minutes came in the cup and in the Conference League. But the problem Arsenal have, or what the biggest issue, one of the biggest issues Arsenal had this season was their key players were unavailable at key moments in the season. Odegaard missed a big chunk of it. Thomas Partey missed a semi-final first leg against PSG, and Declan Rice. I think Declan Rice missed a game or two from suspension. And going into next season, you'd expect, okay, we're losing Jorginho's already gone. We're losing Jorginho. We're losing Thomas Partey. Zubimendi is almost on his way, if you believe what the reports are saying. So that's the guy that's coming to start. That is Zubimendi, Rice, and Odegaard. But the problem then arises when what happens if one of those guys break down? Is it and you have to rely on Christian Norgaard for a few games in the season? Is it is that enough when you're playing? Because again, Arsenal have a very tough start in
Yeah.
terms of the fixtures, and just like and a lot of people say, "Boy, it's fine, it's a squad player," but I always struggled with that notion when people say, "I'm going to sign that player because he's a squad player. We're signing because he's a squad player," and when you sign this kind of player, I think it never works because most times they spend most times on the bench, and whenever they come up on the pitch they show why they are squad players because they cannot affect the team on their best day. I don't think Norgard improves Arsenal's first team.
I was reading something. I get you. But if you're looking at how much he was signed, you will never get any other player for a player of his. I don't know
No,
how
you
they
could,
were able to get him for 11 million.
okay, yeah, that's true.
I,
But
I
at the end
don't
of
I
the
don't
day,
know. I will not have lost him because it's going to take more than 11 million. Even if they should go to maybe Denmark or somewhere and get a player, they are getting that
well,
player for 7 million. That player will take like 2 years to get to the level of Noga. So if I except he had a release clause, if I was Brentford, I'm not releasing him for 11. You are going to give me 22 or 21, and I'll keep him. That's one. Then two, if you look at him, you already know what you are getting from him. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it works. I was reading about Arsenal about a player that they were linked with. I don't know if it's going to happen. A severe player, severe from I don't know, a midfielder.
Agome.
So it's possible they still get Agome. I don't know if they still have the money. They get
I
it.
don't think so.
You don't think so, right?
I think I think Norgard is the and again, I think because I think the priority for Arsenal should be improving the attacking positions and also replacing the players that are leaving in that midfield. They've already got Zubimendi coming in, but at the same time, it's not just getting the guys that have. It's not just getting physical bodies in, but you have to also get quality in. Because again, this is because we expect Arsenal to challenge for one and two in the Premier League. I don't expect Arsenal to be involved. Or if Arsenal, a bad season for Arsenal is if they're involved in a top four race rather than the championship race. I think that's off, but that's already a poor season for Arsenal based on their aspirations. And I think going into next season it's going to be one of Mikel Arteta's toughest season yet because it's going to be under a lot of pressure. Like because he faced a lot of backlash this season, and I think some of it was over the top, and I think some of it was well deserved. But at the same time, you should know where you're trying to go. And if you see just comparative, look at what Liverpool are doing. Look at what Man City are doing. And look at what teams like even what Newcastle already have. Look at the midfield Newcastle already have. I don't think
Okay, I know
Norgard
what you're
gets
saying.
into that Newcastle. I don't think Norgard gets into that Newcastle team in that midfield area. I don't even think he gets into an Aston Villa midfield. Talk less of a Chelsea or I think Chelsea have one of the best group of midfielders around.
Midfielder, yeah.
So it's because again the issue would be it's fine having a player like Norgard in your team because he is what he is. It's fine, but the problem, like imagine if Chelsea had to rely on Dewsbury Hall in the Premier League for large parts in that season. Say Palmer gets injured and Enzo gets injured. Do you think that is significant? Do you think it's good enough to come in and cover those gaps? I don't think it is. So it's because again, and people say I don't know. I think Arsenal are I think they're in a good state financially. terms of PSR and how they've managed it. They've been very careful with their movements in a long time. But at the same time, I've always believed if you want to win, you have to spend what it takes to win. There are no two ways about it. Unless you get lucky like a Leicester City, but if you look at teams that win, they spend money. There's
Yeah,
no
that's it.
they don't cut corners. You just see Liverpool blow the English transfer record for a player that but they didn't particularly need, but they saw an opportunity and they've gone and they've gotten. They're stacked. They've improved things. They've gotten guys two new fullbacks left and right, and they're still looking for business in attacking position. This is what's because and because if you because I know it's still very early in transfer window, and I hate to always because the ball hasn't been kicked yet, so I hate to always compare what teams are doing in transfer market because you still need to sit on the pitch. But I think for Arsenal, there cannot be any doubts about the team going into the next season. About any player right left or right team. Every player in the Arsenal team right now should be there based on merit and should be the quality, the right quality needed. I also understand squad play, but at the same time, look at it, okay, you've lost this guy. Can this not be the perfect opportunity to play Miles Lewis-Kelly, who was one of the standard players last season in
Yeah.
his natural position in the midfield? Then because I think he has this. Arsenal are always going to sign defenders every season, and you find if Calafiori is not up to it particularly, you go and find another left back, or you see because with Norgaard again, this is not about it's not about the player. I think
Player,
Norgaard
go
is
ahead.
I think it's a good player, but I just think if worst case scenario with Arsenal, if Norgaard steps into that midfield for a good run of games in Premier League, I don't think it helps Arsenal's overall title aspirations. Because again, they're not. This is not like a Chelsea where we've seen Chelsea are trying. Chelsea are in a place where
Yeah,
they're still coming. Chelsea
they have
haven't
to win
gotten there
one
yet.
now.
But Arsenal are in a win now, right? They're in a win right now situation. And I know a lot of people disagree, but I think that's just the reality of it. You can't come second 3 years consecutively and not feel that pressure. Rightly, if it's right, I don't know, but I think they need to end up with something. I don't know what it is, but they need, even if it's a cup, but they need to end up with something.
Okay, let's move to the next one. A tale of two Christians. Arsenal are reported to have maybe in talks, or have they reached an agreement, or they are still in talks with Christian Mosquera?
I think from the latest reports, it seems they've agreed the player and the club they've agreed a settlement, but I think they're still trying to find the right financial package with
Okay.
Valencia.
I didn't know he was a Colombian, originally Colombian. I thought he was Spanish. They say born by Colombian parents in Spain.
Yeah,
So, 20 million euros. He's been ever present for Valencia for a long time. At just 20 years old, he has made over 90 appearances for Valencia, which is very, very massive. He was a replacement for Gabriel Paulista, who ironically was formerly of Arsenal in August 2023. And ever since that day, he replaced Paulista in the starting 11. August 2023, he has played every game, has played the most games in the team, with the exception of Florian Lejeune. Florian
oh
Lejeune is
yeah,
the only player who has logged in more game time than him. So I watched him. I think I watched him like only twice. Then I watched some of his highlights. I like what catches me. What is so brilliant about him or with him is he appears like a right. He appears like he plays with his right-footed player, but he now plays on the left side instead of on the right side.
yeah.
I was
That's
surprised. Normally,
yeah,
the
yeah,
right. I think John Terry was like that, right? John Terry was a right
yeah,
footer,
just
right? But
yeah,
he played on the other
yeah.
side. Yeah, I was surprised. But if you also know how he holds the ball, I think he's still comfortable with his left foot, though. I think he's still very, very comfortable with his left foot.
I think I've seen a bit of him for Valencia, especially in the big games against Real Madrid and Barcelona last season, but also caught a bit of him with the Spanish national team at the under 21 Euros, where, like you said, he was playing on the left side of it of he was playing on the left side of the defense, and I think he's quite comfortable on both feet, or right foot, left foot, which will bring more. I think his side will bring more. Will bring more depth to Arsenal
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
Arsenal back line. And unlike the signing of Norgaard, I think there's a player like you can get. It's I think the value of the player, because I think if you look at players under that this age with the minutes they played in the top five leagues, I think you see guys like Mosquera, Lukemba at Leipzig, Levi Colwill, players that are under 21 or about 21, 22, that are playing that are playing minutes in the big leagues. So it's shown he has enough, not experience, but he's playing games. But it's still is a developmental signing. He's a player that you
Yeah.
sign, you keep in the squad, you help you help him on the training ground, and whenever you can, you bring him you bring him out, you expose him to the first team. But the issue with I think the issue Arsenal have had with this kind of, because again they also signed a guy, the Polish defender they signed from Italy.
Kibio, is it Kibio?
Kiwo, yeah, Kiwo.
Yeah.
So when you sign those guys and you already have Gabriel and Gab Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes, which that I think that's a fantastic centre back pairing. But once those guys that are behind them can't get enough minutes to develop it, it's kind of
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
it hampers the overall development. And I think I think Arsenal they have a lot of centre backs. Counting, they have about I think about four, about five of them. Yes, I think so. They're well covered in that position, but it's an opportunity you can take. I think it's a player I'd have loved Chelsea to sign
Yeah,
and sign.
I would have loved just I like he's 6'3"
I
so
like his profile. I
he's
think
very, very physically imposing. Funny enough, look at what caught my attention as regards him. I notice every time he has most not every time, most of the time he has the ball, he tries to give long distance passes. Do you know he recorded 91 passing accuracy? That is massive. For
yeah,
any player to have normally is 80s, you are 81,
yeah,
82. He recorded 91 passing accuracy. That is massive.
yeah,
Unlike just like Gabriel, he's a passive defender. They hardly make tackles, but each time they make tackle, they try to get it right. He was a 42nd of 62 center backs in La Liga for true tackles, per 1,000 tackles made. 42 out of
yeah,
62. That means he's down in the bottom. He doesn't really make tackles, but he when he needs to make tackle, he make. But he's very physical, and I don't think he will
yeah.
struggle with the pace of the just like Gabriel. Well, what's yeah, finish up.
I think with his profile, I won't be surprised if we see him playing at right back, for example, going into next season, because we know
Yeah, he's
Arsenal they
versatile.
don't have.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a very so it's I think it's a sign I like. And again, go back to and to the earlier Christian we talk about Norgaard. I'd have expected Arsenal to find another midfielder like this with the same age profile, same exposure in one of the top five leagues. Because again, the players are out there. There are a lot of fantastic midfielders out there. So it's like even I think one of the best underrated midfielders right now. He's his teammate at Valencia, Enzo Bareshka, who's well known from Aston Villa. I think that's one of the guys that will probably get a big move soon. So I think, but with Christian, I think it's a fantastic deal. I think Arsenal can't with this kind of deals. I don't think you can really go wrong with this deal.
Yeah, they say Arsenal were linked with the Brazilian defender Manchester City signed earlier this season. Uh, Victor
Victorious,
Ruiz
yeah,
was also, yeah. Have you watched
yeah.
Victor play?
It's no, I haven't. But like a lot of a lot of people who have watched him and people who've seen enough of him, they believe he's the right. He's one of those guys that have the potential, they have the profile. But again, with Victor Reyes, he hasn't played enough for Man City. And with players at this age, you need to play games. So I think if it's considering Victor, I think Victor Reyes is probably going to go out on loan this season at Man City. It's probably one of their sister clubs, probably the one in Spain. You see him develop into because this is a guy coming from the Brazilian league. He needs to find himself in European football because it's not that transition has been very tricky for a lot of South American players in recent time.
But what if Arsenal gets this guy as Mosquera, gets Norgaard, then gets Iberichese, and then maybe gets Tesco? How do you rate the season? Or gets the Eucharist? Do they have the funds to get the four of them?
They have the fan. They have
Who are they offloading this season? Who are they really?
They don't. I think Arsenal don't really because I
Arteta
think I
doesn't
was
like
looking
to
at,
do because I found out Tomiyasu is still in Arsenal. I've not seen him in
yeah,
a long while. He
yeah.
doesn't like
I
to
think
release his players. I don't know why.
no, but it's never. But I think Arsenal not. They don't really sell. They don't really sell well, or they don't get maximum value for the players they sell. If you look at Chelsea, for example, if you see Arsenal's highest ever sale in the Premier League is Oxley Chamberlain to Liverpool for 35 million pounds. And when you consider clubs like Brighton, West Ham's, or even Chelsea, like Chelsea are not they sell well. Particularly, I don't know why, but I think it's a very so they have a, they have a very good strong group of players. They have top class good players, but they don't have the other guys in between that are not just like like Chelsea always have like this one guy where Chelsea can sell this guy and get good value for like even a guy like Kane Chukwuemeka, for example,
Yeah,
or even guys like that you can sell them, but Arsenal don't really have those guys. So even and the guys that they could have sold for those for that for good money are guys like MS Rowe, a player that has been quite injury prone. Then you have to
yeah,
take a hit on it, take a hit on him. Guys like Bruce Nelson is another one. So it's a very tough situation. But if you like you said, if Arsenal conclude these two deals for the two Christians, you had an Eze and a Sesko Gokores. I still think it's at best is a seven. At best is a seven. Because Arsenal, you still look at it, there's still what happens if Saka breaks down again? What happens? There's still a lot of it's because again this is where I know a lot of people will disagree like why is a Chelsea fan so why does a Chelsea fan have a lot of opinions about Arsenal? Because again I watch Arsenal, I see them and when you see this team and how they've spent, and I think probably the biggest issue Arsenal have had was when they went into that summer window and they invested heavily in guys like Kai Havertz and Jesus, and they needed those two guys to hit. If you invest as they did in those two guys with the wages and the transfer fees, you can't have them not performing the way they performed. I don't think if any Arsenal fan that tells me Kai Havertz has been a successful signing is like it's just not been. If Havertz was this good, Arsenal will be looking for a Sesko
that's
or a
right.
Gyökeres. So and when you look at those guys,
If it's that good in midfield, then you won't be buying another Zubimendi. And I get what I'm trying. What
exactly,
does this mean? But I bet you beginning of the season, Arteta will still start him as the number 9.
and that's why the problem is, and that's why I feel even probably just again this is just speculation from what has been reported. I feel that Arsenal there's probably this internal struggle between two sides. I think there's one person there pushing for Gyökeres and Ollie Watkins, a senior striker that comes in as an established number 9 that comes in and becomes Arsenal's main guy. And I bet there's another voice who's quite comfortable with the fact that he's quite comfortable as happy with Havertz being the guy and having another guy behind Havertz. I think Arteta really like Kai Havertz. I don't know why, but I don't know if it's because you've invested so much in it, you have to see it work out. But I still think even with an Eze and Sesko, I still don't think it's enough. Because again, like they're going into the season, we've seen Liverpool they won the league, like they won the league. It was they won it quite not easily, but they wrapped it up early
Mhm.
last season. And they've already made efforts to strengthen that team. It's not just sign players, but they strengthen that team. Starting a guy like Kekes, who's one of the best fullbacks in Premier League. To add to Robertson already, who's a Premier League winning left back. That is not Kekes is not a squad player.
Yeah.
You're not starting Kekes off as a rotation piece. He's going in there. He will likely play games, but but there are different ways they can use those both players. But I think with Arsenal, I don't know. I really like because it's never just it's never even the silence they have. But what about Odegaard? And Odegaard didn't have the best of season
They
last
didn't
year.
have the rest.
Saka had an okay season by his standards, and he was injured for large parts of it. But it was not an outstanding season either.
When he came back, I don't think he was the same in my eyes.
Yeah, well, of course it's no, of course it's tough because it goes to another point regarding Arsenal. It's you rarely see in a season where one team has three players that get the same kind of injuries. Not they had Havertz, Saka, and Gabriel. They all had torn hamstring injuries. And it's not like It's not like a 2-3 week break that we had for 2 to 3 months each. That's the worry. That is very I- that's a massive red flag. God, I don't know. So Zubimendi needs to come in and be basically perfect from the job.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
cannot afford a bedding season like okay, this is okay. He needs to adapt to the league. He needs to come in and hit the ground running. He needs to come
And that
and
might be a lot of pressure because if you look at Enzo Fernandez, he's playing way better. He's not still what Chelsea fans expected, but he's playing way better than when he came in. When a young player comes to a new environment, the
and
pressure can
even
be massive.
and even like I think if you look at the best in that position right now, Rodri, he didn't quite hit the ground running when he went into that Man City team. It took a year or two just to get used to the rhythm of the Premier League. Because again, I don't care what people say, Premier League is a different beast for any other league. So it's very as much as I think Zubimendi has unique qualities in the Premier League. How do because again you need to come in and just hit it running from day one. And because even funny enough, that first Premier League game is out, they're away at Manchester United. So you need those guys to come in and just again. So it will be interesting to see how they perform in preseason. They cannot. I think Arsenal always perform well in preseason because I think they're a well coached team. They have a lot of good players. But I think most times you just need. Say if Arsenal have 4 or 5 good players, most times you need 5. You need 7 to 8. Like if you see Man City, where a good Man City team, it's not just Ellen Haaland. They had Mahrez is there, Foden is there, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish on his day could do something. They have Rodri behind them. Cancelo was also there for a while. So there's a lot of quality in that team. Liverpool have the same thing as well. So you just can't rely on the Saka, Odegaard, and you say you get an Eze. Even if Eze goes to Arsenal, does he scale up immediately? Does he take because even Eze didn't have the best of starts last season. He started he started playing a lot better towards the back end of the season. But I believe Eze is a fantastic player. I think he should be a fantastic, maybe good buy for Arsenal. But I think honestly, I think what Arsenal really need to do is if they can fill up that team with a lot more quality. And I mean, personally, I think Martinelli, Trossard, I'm selling one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
One of them has to go. And what I'm doing is you find out if Rodrigo is interested to come in. You find out early enough. If he's interested, fine, you make that deal. But if he's not, because I think I'm not quite sure if he's willing to leave Real Madrid right now.
That is
If he's
leaving
in
now.
that
We want to wait and see how it works out, then decide
exactly
next year. I don't think he's doing it.
exactly if there are doubts about Rodrigo, you move on from him. But I think that's Sesko Gyökeres. I don't know, but I think one player I think Arsenal should be looking at is Pogo Ekitike. I think that's the kind of guy that is like it's like that's an Arsenal player. That is French, tall, technically fantastic, your pace, straight, quick, fast feet, good finisher. That's an Arsenal player there. But I think I'll sell one of Trossard or Martinelli, getting an Eze. I felt they should have pushed for Mbeumo. I think Ubemo should have one of those guys first on the list. Like, okay, go out there, get him because he has everything you need right now. Premier League player, he has the goals, he can play across the front line, he covers all your bases. But if it's just 2 attacking players, you recruit 2 attacking players, I still don't think it's enough. I still because you still
And the one that we played on that 21 tournament, no.
I don't think he started the game, he was on the bench. But that's also I think that's also because he's not this is not his because the Latuna is always like it's the 2 year process, the 2 year process. The guys are certainly they qualify, they play, then they get moved on. I think Nawane is a bit ahead of that development. So I think in 2 years, the next under 21 tournament should be his tournament. Because guys like Javier Elliott,
Yeah, they are like
the
22. I
captain.
was surprised.
Yeah,
They're
exactly. So
allowed
so
to play.
guys so I think you're eligible at the start of when the qualifying process starts. So you're young I think you're around 2021 when that qualifying process starts. You qualify for it. So I think so guys like Elliot, those guys, they all move on. They all should step up to the first team. Then Nawari comes in. So I think it's not. I don't think it was on the bench just because based on his quality. I think
So for him to
he's a
even
very good
make the
player.
tournament, it was a good achievement because that midfield, I saw the midfield, they had very good players. Very,
Oh
very
yeah,
good.
exactly. So and it's not just the quality, but they are guys that are playing consistently in the Premier League. A guy like Elliot Anderson, who was fantastic. Alex
Yeah.
Scott, fantastic performance as well. I know Harvey Elliott doesn't really get on the pitch a lot for Liverpool, but he has been a Liverpool first team player for the best part of 4 years now. He's contributed to a lot of success that team has had. But again, with Arsenal, they need to. I think they don't have the luxury of having any misses. They have to get just about every transfer they make this season has to be right. Not just the players, but also the fit of the team and how the players arrive in that team. Because you can't have a player that comes in and it takes a while to adjust. You take us. I think Havertz was one of those guys that when he went to Arsenal, it took him a while to get. I think it's called this. I think he went a long time without scoring, so it took him a while to get up to that speed. I think you can't afford that right now because worst case scenario is you could already be out of you could already be out of with the fixture they have. You could be out of a title race in the first 5 weeks of the Premier League. So
Yeah,
it's
I get you.
yeah. I guess I think
You
but
know, that's
we'll see.
we'll see by the end of the season. Okay, that should be all for us today. Please join us next time around. Smash the like button, drop your comments and then subscribe. Thanks for coming, friend. Have a good one.